Reed Lamberty. Students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School are back in class today for the first time since that mass shooting 2 weeks ago that claimed 17 lives. They made a very emotional return to campus earlier.
The school district says there is now enhanced security, but would not give specifics. The massacre led survivors and students to call for action on tougher gun control laws. One student says she had mixed emotions about returning to school after what happened.
Unfortunately, I was shot twice, actually. But yeah, I'm recovering, so I got my staples out, thankfully, but I was very much so there. Yes, our school was gunned down. It's not something that we can't overcome. It's not something that there's no barrier that is strong enough to hold us. We can do this. We can overcome that fear. We can overcome all of that, all of the emotion that we feel.
Adriana Diaz has spoken with many of the students since the shooting and is now joining us from the high school. Adriana, that young woman that you spoke to said, I got my staples out, the way, a kid might say, I got my braces out. I can't believe the emotional stamina that some of these students are displaying, but I'm wondering what the mood is like now as they're, as they've started their school day.
Anne-Marie, the mood is somber, to say the least. These students marched right past us into school with serious faces, some listening to music, some with their friends, some with their parents who had their arms around them. They are exhausted, they've told us, because of the emotional roller coaster they've been through. Not only the ones who have been shot themselves and survived, but the ones who've lost their close friends and members of their community here at school. These students are resilient, but they are tired because of everything they've been through. These past 2 weeks, they have not been in school. This is their first time back for classes, and they're inside right now trying to regain some sense of normalcy.
Adriana, you've spoken with many students over the past couple of weeks. You've spoken with students here this morning. Clearly a mixed bag of emotions for these kids who are going back into class. As you mentioned, very somber. That's understandable. Did you get any sense from them as to what they were looking forward to today? Are they looking, we hear normal and getting back to normal so often, but are they looking for some sense of normalcy, getting back to their routine, getting back to school with their friends and their teachers?
I asked the students, are you looking forward to going back, or is it more of a feeling of dread? And they said, it's a little bit of both. But what I am looking forward to is seeing my friends, being able to hug my friends who I haven't seen since this horrible tragedy unfolded. A lot of these students have spent time alone at home. We spoke to a student whose birthday is actually today. She turned 17 today. She lost one of her best friends, Carmen Shentrup, who was killed just 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks to the day. And she says she's looking forward to seeing her other friends, but she's thankful that today is just a half day. It'll be a half day all week, so they won't have to stay for lunch, because she usually had lunch with Carmen. So she's thankful she won't have to walk into the lunchroom and not see her friend.
So the superintendent spoke earlier today and, had some pretty strong words about the idea of arming teachers. Let's play that sound and then we'll talk afterwards.
I'm adamantly opposed to arming teachers in our schools. I think the solution is to add more law enforcement personnel, and that's the proposal that we need to continue to support. Add more school resource officers. For our teachers, they have enough on their plate. They sacrifice a lot. I believe that what we should be doing is not putting guns on the hips of our teachers, but we should be putting more money in their pockets and improving the funding situation in the state of Florida.
So the governor has presented or proposed really a large, expanded piece of legislation that he would like to see move forward that includes not arming teachers per se, but putting more resource officers in schools. How are things unfolding? We know these students have tried to put pressure on state lawmakers to get something done. Is anything moving forward at this point?
It is, Anne-Marie. A bill just passed, it was approved by a committee in the Florida State House yesterday that includes a provision for arming teachers if the school district agrees to it. It also includes raising the age limit to 21 for anyone who wants to buy a long rifle. Now, the governor hasn't said whether or not he'll veto that bill if it gets to his desk, but he is pushing forward his own proposal that does not include arming teachers. The governor doesn't agree with arming teachers, neither does the superintendent, as you heard here. And this is becoming one one of the main themes emerging from this tragedy. As you know, President Trump has suggested the possibility of arming teachers as well, but there are people who support it and oppose it.
Adriana, over the last couple of weeks, we have seen that these students are not taking this sitting down, many of whom are really taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, and now they're getting a reputation for their political action, going to the nation's capital, speaking with the president and other senators, heading to the state capital of Tallahassee. Do these students now plan to continue this political action now that they are going back to school?
They do not plan to release the pressure off of that gas pedal. They are moving forward with their fight to bring change, even though now they're going to be back to being full-time students. They are using social media. They all have cell phones to continue garnering up support and momentum to push forward their agenda. They're also still going to be holding meetings after school. We're told that they're even looking for a workspace here in town so they can have a meeting place and no longer meet at the house of one of the members. So they have their plan laid out, and they're planning a nationwide march, which will include a march on Washington on March 24th.
Adriana Diaz reporting live now from Parkland, Florida. Adriana, we do appreciate it.